Now this is Hollywood Unlocked. Yo, it's Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored. I'm Jason Lee.
What's good? It's DJ Damage.
All right, so we've been talking about the Black Brand Matters and talking about Black entrepreneurs. And so with us today, we have Takesha Clark, who's the CEO and founder of Capital Postal and Mailbox. She's from Compton, but your business is in Long Beach, right?
Right, correct.
Now, you are CEO, you are a boss. Talk to us. When did you have it in your mind that you didn't want to work for anybody?
At a very young age, when I was probably about 14, 15 years old, actually.
Now, where did that come from? Is that something you've seen in your family? Did something happen?
Well, yeah, I seen it in my family. My grandfather, he had businesses. My grandmother had businesses. And so that was just something that I kind of looked at as a young girl growing up. And I was like, and they was really doing it, they was really doing it. They had clubs and everything. So my grandfather had a limousine service. So yeah, of course I was like, that's how I want to be.
Now, what's interesting about your story, you did something I've never done. And a lot of people I don't think have done. You saved up 4 years of your tax refund and you didn't spend any of it. You saved it up.
I didn't spend any of it. I saved it up, yeah.
So how old were you when you did this? And this is the money you used to start your business, right?
Yeah, well, when I first started my Liberty Tax, I started off franchising with Liberty Tax. I had a Liberty Tax franchise at first. And then I did that for like 3 years. And then I branched off and went independent and started my own tax company called Good Faith Tax Services. And then a year later, I started my capital.
So you saved the tax money to start the franchisable Liberty Tax business.
Right.
Learned how to do it through the franchise. And then once you learned the game, went and had your own business.
Right. Started my own business. Correct. So I basically paid for the game to learn how to go off and do it independently.
But that's what I tell people all the time, that the game is like, you're supposed to get in, learn it, get out and own it, right? Like ownership should be something that we should all strive to be, but you didn't just own a tax company. You also went on to own a trucking company and a daycare and then now a post office. So like, how do you just diversify your portfolio like that? Is it stuff that you're passionate about or just areas where you see, we could have ownership?
Well, yeah, I'm passionate about helping people. So anything they got to do with helping somebody or, coming up with some kind of solution to help, with any business, is really coming up with a solution to resolve whatever the problem is. So for me, anything that I can help, then yeah. And I can be passionate about and I can make money doing, is always an A+,
Now, I feel like a lot of people have aspirations to start a business. For those young girls, young guys that's coming up that was 14 or, whatever, when you started your business, 17, when you started the daycare, what's some advice for them to get in the mindset of starting to own? Like, what's some of those first steps?
Well, they got to be motivated. That's number one. They got to be willing to sacrifice. They got to be dedicated. And then they just got to believe in themselves. Like, you really got to believe in yourself and believe you can do it. And you can't be lazy or stagnated. You have to be serious about it. So, if they go for it, as long as they stay consistent, the sky's the limit.
Wait, so you've been an entrepreneur for 17 years. You didn't start your business at 17, right?
Right. So no. So basically I started my daycare back in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my first initial business that I started. And then from there, I started buying property and stuff like that at the age of 25.
But at 17, you were a young mother to your first kid, right? And that sometimes young women feel overwhelmed and don't find the motivation to pursue their passions or their careers? What was it for you that allowed you to just keep going in spite of, all those statistics?
Um, well, being a single mother, and then my mother, she didn't raise me, so I kind of was like very motivated to be better, and to be able to provide for my daughter and give her the life that I never had. So I was just very motivated to just do something better with myself, with my life, and to be better as a mother for mine, because my mother was addicted to drugs. So my grandmother raised me and my siblings.
So me and a friend of mine were talking about recently, she moved all of her money out of City National and she moved it into a black owned bank. How important as a black entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, Damage is an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. How important is it, how important do you think it is that we as a black community support black businesses, big and small?
Is very important. I also have, I'm with One United Bank. That's
Yeah,
a bank that I bank with, the
yeah,
black owned business.
yeah.
So I have my business accounts there and personal accounts there and everything. So yeah, I'm very supportive of helping and supporting my black owned businesses.
So Capital Postal and Mailbox Service, how did that come about? And tell us about why you chose Long Beach if you're from Compton.
Okay, so how that came about is, well, I always wanted to do a postal store. So that was something that I've always wanted to do. And it was funny because I had a friend of mine that I actually went to school with, and she had one first. And what happened was I was already in the process of trying to get mine going. And she contacted me and she was like, I'm selling. She shut hers down. She was in Compton actually, so she
Mm.
shut hers down. I don't really know the backstory of that, but she ended up shutting it down, and she was selling everything. So she had hit me up because she know I had a Liberty Tax at the time, and she was just like, she knew I was, doing business, so she was like, she hit me up and said she had like all of the stuff that she had in her store for sale. So, and she sold it to me, and I bought everything from her. And like 2 months later, I started my store, my Capital Postal location. And she was like, "Wow, you move fast." And I was like, "Yeah," 'cause I was already in the process of doing it.
Right.
Mm.
So it was just like confirmation when she called me about the stuff.
For people, especially people of our color, black people that want to start businesses, is it hard to raise capital to start a business? What's that process like?
Um, well, it can be hard, but me, you just got to come up with a strategic way on how to do it. Like for me, like what I did, I said, I'm gonna save my refund money for until I get enough to do what I'm trying to do. And that's what I did because at the time, I wasn't established enough to actually go to a bank and get the money. But I had to grow and learn those steps. But I ended up, saving my refund money, making my money, and I ended up starting my business, and that's how I started. So it's ways to just be strategic about it, and that was one of my strategic ways.
So Capital Postal and Mailbox Service, you have mailbox rentals, you can expedite passport scanning, passport photos, printing. You have UPS, FedEx, and all of the companies that mail packages through your company. What else do you want people to know about your company and why people should go there?
Well, what else I want them to know about it is that we have great customer service skills, and we're very hands on with our customers. We treat them like royalty. So you know, I'm also adding other things to the store. I'm in the process of starting a carrier service as well as a package hub center. So that's something that's in the makings right as we speak.
Come on.
So it's my store been approved for the package hub center. So, I'm still just doing paperwork, and getting that going.
Well, nice. Congratulations. Well, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your business with us and doing business with Hollywood Unlocked. We want to be able to create a space for entrepreneurs of color all over the world to be able to highlight what they're doing, because you never know who's watching and who may feel like, yo, if she could do it, I could do it. So congratulations on everything.
Yeah. And I just want to say one more thing. Like, I'm also in the near future, I'm working on that too, is I'm going to be franchising. So people that want to come on board and want to become entrepreneurs, I will be, franchising the Capital Postal and mailbox services. So, and then I'll help with getting funding for, the people that want to come on board. So, yeah, so that's something that I just want to throw out there. So if people is, I know people is listening, so I want to let them know that's something I'll be doing in the near future.
Yeah, no, that's great. And tell Kevin over at One United Bank he needs to get behind that and fund it all too.
Hello.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you.
I will tell them.
Thank you, and keep in touch with us. And
Thank
let us know
you,
how
Jason.
everything goes. Yes.
Thank you, Damage.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, and you guys take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so we have a threesome today, and it isn't what you're thinking, because everybody that tunes in thinks I'm always being reckless. But Dijon Talton, Meagan Good, and Lamaya Good. And I didn't add your married names, so do I need to go back over that and get it right?
Mm-hmm. You gotta add the Lamaya Good Bellinger.
I don't want to call from Eric. Lamaya Good Bellinger and Meagan Good Franklin.
Yeah.
It is.
So Meagan, you haven't been on the show. Well, you two have never been on the show. Meagan, you haven't been here for a while.
Yeah. What has it been? Maybe 2 years, maybe? Has it been
too
that
long? 2 years too long.
Too long.
So what's going on? Now you guys are coming to take our jobs or what? There's this new project.
Not that at all. Okay, no, we're just having good old family conversation, family style.
Yeah.
Like, those conversations that you have with your family or friends that feel like family, and you discuss ideas and some of those things that you're like, damn, I should have just said that out loud, or this could probably help if I say this. Hearing these conversations that you have in your living room, you have on Taco Tuesday, all that good stuff, just basically having it with everybody else.
So people are probably like, what are you talking about? Okay, so I'm jumping straight to it, and then we're going to go back and work our way back to it. So so everybody in Hollywood knows your relation. Meagan and Lamaya, you two have been an extreme support system to each other for years. Mm-hmm. I remember being at I don't want to say Ledoux, but it was whatever club it was a club that don't exist no more. And I remember you two being together tight then. And it's been good to see you guys have each other's back the whole way through this experience in Hollywood. And then Dijon, I know that you're their family, but I've never seen you guys work on anything together. Did I miss something, or is this the first time?
Meagan actually directed my first music video.
Yeah.
Yes, she was behind the scenes. I was in front of the camera.
We produced it together.
Yeah.
That's how I started directing. And I directed my first film last year, but Dijon was basically the one who was like, so are you gonna figure this out or what? And I'm like, sure.
And then Dijon directed a pilot that I did.
My pilot.
Yeah, that I started it.
Yeah.
We've been working together for years on several different projects.
Yeah.
Some of them make it to the surface. You know how it goes.
Yeah. Wait, so you all are all first cousins?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Look, we talking to my people now. I'm just saying, like, I got a lot of cousins. Some of them are first, some are second, some are niggas that I don't want people to know I'm dating.
Cousins, Jason?
Good truth comes out.
Oh, trust me, people have met a lot of my cousins. My family is big, but it ain't that big. But you guys are first cousins. Do you have a big family or a small family?
I think it's relatively big, but it was interesting because our mothers were really, really close. So we grew up as siblings. So I have a brother as well. So they have an older brother as well. So we were always like one tight-knit family. And of course, we have other relatives. We kind of always moved as a unit.
I know. For some reason, I think because we were the younger ones too, though. Because then like Mark and everybody is older. I think too, generation, like the age, it matters with who clicks up. But Yeah, we have a big family.
Yeah,
I mean, but
we do.
just like you said, some people you just not as tight with. It's just that's how it goes.
No, but that's what I was going to ask you. Like, do you have other cousins and family members in your age range that you guys are not as clicked up with? Because I just recently went through experience with my family where the cousins, we all grew up as one, but then we all grew up and kind of went our own ways. And now some of us are still really close when others aren't as close. And there's been this whole conversation about like, why doesn't Jason fuck with us? It's like, it's not that. It's just we all grew up, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we have we're definitely, I would say that we're kind of close to all of our family, but when I say close, there's a difference in closeness. Like, we're close in the sense that we spend a ton of time together. We see each other, if nothing else, at least once a week.
Okay.
We're constantly in each other's lives. We tell each other our secrets. We tell each other our traumas, every single thing like that. And then we have other cousins who we're close to and we love. We just don't see them as much. We vibe out. We have a great relationship. We just don't see each other as much. We're not always a part of each other's every single daily life. You know, it's just the dynamic between all of us is a little bit different because, as Dijon said, we're more like siblings than we are like cousins. And even though we don't necessarily like say baby brother or whatever, we say cousin. It's just that's just the dynamic of how, you know. Same with Romy. Same with our little cousin baby Satir. You know, Lexi, our little sister. It's just that's the dynamic between us.
I want to dig more into the dynamic. So which one holds each other accountable? Which one, you know, you're going to call up and they're going to let you get away with what you're doing? Like, how does that work within all three of y'all?
Okay, so let's break those questions down one by one. What was the first one?
I'm just saying, like, which one, you know, you're going to call and they're going to give it to you straight?
No chaser straight is Lamaya for sure.
Lamaya.
I have no clue. I've been told.
Okay, so which one, you know, you're going to call if you're doing something a little crazy and they're going to kind of be on your side?
Meagan.
Yeah.
You the ride or die.
Meagan, because they're going to need Devon to pray for him. That's why.
For sure.
But now Lamaya isn't always the straightforward one because you went and had a whole marriage and a baby. And I looked up on Instagram and I'm like, I don't miss a lot of shit. But I didn't even know. Here's the deal. I've known you and I've known Eric, but I didn't even know y'all were together.
And
that's how sleep I was.
That, you know what's funny? and nobody really knew like that. It was so, since day one, it's just been about me and him, like, honestly, and me, him, and God, and the talks that we have.
Yep.
And so it was like, we had direction. It was like, here's what we're doing. This is what we're going to do. Either you're going to be obedient and move forward and enjoy the fruits of this, or you're going to, you know, deal with your own shit, you know, all your trust issues and all that. So it was like one of those things where God spoke, we listened, we answered, and that was the best thing we could have ever did in our life.
And that's so smart because I feel like that really safe-proofs your marriage and protects your marriage. But also, like, from my perspective, it went like this. We're sitting at, what's it called? Blue Jam Cafe on Melrose, all of us. And Lamaya and Eric say, so, we're going to get married. And we're like, oh my gosh, amazing. Yeah, we're going to get married. So we'll get y'all pictures.
Damn.
And, we love y'all.
No.
But we're going to go ahead and do this. I think I was getting ready to go shoot some shows. And it was just like too many elements where they were just like, we can't wait for everybody else. We got to do what we need to do for us. And so she was just like, I just want to know that you're okay with it. Because obviously I know you want to be there, but you know, this is what we need to do. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I am happy about
definitely
it.
had a meltdown right there. She was not that flowing with it at first. She definitely had some resistance.
But you know me, I'm very like, I was like, you know what?
But I felt it too. I tried.
And
But was it that kind of like great? I mean, we live in LA where everybody's in everybody's business. I have an entire company dedicated to being in people's business. So like it is like a great way of owning your own thing, right? And enjoying your moment. So
you're 100% right.
And
But you guys also had a really cool thing they did to include all of us
5 years later.
They had a whole reunion. I mean, 5-year anniversary, and we all got to come and celebrate them and take part in their love, and both their sons were there.
Speak life over them, and
I'll say you're 100% right because it was our moment, and it really like solidified. Like Meagan said, it protected us, and over the years, and that's why we decided to do the 5-year anniversary where we renewed our vows in front of everybody because it was like, you know what? It's one thing to find your soulmate. it's another thing to accomplish things together and build something.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like 5 years later, look at all we've accomplished and we put the work in. And that's something to really be celebrated. I think everybody rushes to the wedding and it's like, great.
Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing.
And too many people have great weddings and they don't make it.
And horrible.
Right. And right.
So,
No, right, and that's what I really love about you all. You're able to support one another. I mean, Eric is a great guy, and anytime I see R&B artists and rappers get in a relationship, I'd be like, "Come on, God, we need one to work. We just need one to work." I mean, how do you guys? Because he is a man who writes and sings love music,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of women who do not care that he's married. How do you have a healthy marriage? Is it communication? Is it like, I'll fuck you up?
What?
I'll fuck you up.
Oh, no. Let me tell you this. No, here's the thing. And I always say this because it's funny to me. When you try to holler at my man, you punching yourself in the face. Somebody asked me, do you feel like punching him in the face? Because this is the thing. He don't want you. And he makes it very clear. I don't have to even, I always wanted a man that I don't have to look around my shoulder, my back to have to say something. Before I can even open my mouth, he will shut a bitch down. You know what I'm saying? That's just how he moves. And the great thing about it, it's not just because of his love for me. It's for his love of himself and who he is. And he has integrity with the person that he wants to be and use his platform the way he does. So and I think women miss that point sometimes. It's like, it's not just about you. You want to be like, oh, my coach is so good that he just ain't going, girl, calm down. The reality is, you have to find a man with integrity. And so it's not just about
talk about it.
Give him some credit. Give him some credit. It's who he chooses to be.
That's the same thing I say about Dijon, because it's like it's not the same, but it is the same. Rather it's even in the church community, people who you wouldn't think would try to get at him, they'd be just, and at the end of the day, like, there's no stress and there's no worry when you know the quality of the human being that you married. Amen. And you know their desire to be their best self comes before even we get to you. Before we even start talking about being a good husband, they want to be a good man. And that's what you don't have to stress and worry.
Right, and that
concern that we don't have, which is really wonderful.
I remember when you came on the show, we were talking about all the blowback you were getting from the church people when you did the red carpet thing, which I said then, I'll say now, you looked extremely stunning. Then now we see the success of the Clark Sisters show, where you see Jackie came to the mom's house and she had pants on and the mom shut the door in her face. Right. And I was talking to Kiara and I'm like, we're at a place where you can still have, like, how you dress doesn't define your love for God or your faith. And I just really love the fact that you've had the self-discipline and integrity to keep being a good example that you can have faith and still be a human being and still be a strong Black woman and not be defined by whatever people say you should be.
Thank you. I received that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
But does that come from because both of you are in healthy relationships? Does that come from having the support, or having, or is it more of an internal thing?
For me, it's more of an internal thing. It's like, I don't consider myself religious by the world standards of what religion is. I consider myself spiritual, but I'm a believer of Christ. Jesus is my Lord and Savior. I'm totally a Jesus freak. However, I'm about relationship with Christ over religion. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a good relationship with God, you can really, really hear from him. Then you can walk in confidence and you can really say, okay, Lord, do you approve? Do you not approve? Am I stepping out wrong or am I stepping out okay? Mm-hmm. Like, even this tattoo, it's like most Christians, we can't have tattoos. Well, for me, this one is Romans 14:22, which is, he who has faith, have it to himself before God. Happy is he who does not condemn himself in what he approves.
Talk about it.
A relationship with God, it's about what God is telling you. And yes, you have to read the word of God. You have to, study that and all of it. But you have to understand what God is telling you specifically, not just literally like, it says this. Because what is your spiritual understanding of what is being said to you?
Exactly, because that's how God will use you as an individual instead of everybody working the same.
And I feel like when you have that solid foundation of who you are and like, you consciously awake know your relationship with God,
Yeah.
All the people on the outside with an opinion, now you're judging me, therefore you will be judged. So good luck with you. Now you have a problem. I've always said too that, like, I believe that having your relationship with God, you have to define that on your own terms. Maybe I see your tattoo and now you explain to me a Bible scripture. Now we have an entire conversation about the Bible that I've never read.
Right.
And everyone's
Yeah.
line is different. Like God deals with you according to your own bent. So Megan's line, Lamaya's line, and my line are completely different to what he's calling us to do.
Yeah.
How he wants us to show up in the world. And oftentimes, unfortunately, Christians feel like their level of holiness is everyone's level of
Right.
holiness, and it's not.
Right.
It's
So
not.
what-
It's the same God, but different relationships.
Absolutely.
So Dijon, you talk to me about your faith. I know, like, in LA, there's so many different churches, and there's so many different people who preach or teach at church. I know that when COVID-19 happened, and I was in a state of just unrest, waking up every day with anxiety, waking up in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep, was not feeling well. And we did a live with Devon. And I mean, I had immediately had peace. I was like, well, I wish I should call him every day. Because I feel like there's some people that have an anointing that can actually speak to the spirit of a man or actually be that bridge. And then there's a lot of people that aren't. So for me, like, we've never really had a conversation, but since we're here on it, what do you think about like, where's your religion and what's your faith?
So I'm very similar to both my cousins. I'm more of a spiritual being, I think, than a religious being. I actually found Christ for myself. Like our parents didn't force us to go to church, so we found Christ on our own terms. But I am a Jesus freak. I think that relationship comes from familiarity, even with personal or spiritual. So the more time you spend with God, the better. And like walking into COVID, I too had unrest and didn't know what was going on, and like was really struggling through some personal things. But God honestly showed up and showed out. It was almost a platform for him to move. So I think sometimes we look to leaders to lead us versus God leading us and spending that quiet, intimate time with him and allowing him to show us what he's doing in our life. There's a scripture that says just ask for help. And at that moment, the spiritual realm starts to move. So oftentimes we just don't open our mouths to ask God, like, hey, what are you doing in this season in my life? What are you healing? What are you moving? What are you shifting and shaping? So that I leave this experience better. We often spend church time like, oh, on Sunday I went to church, check mark. It's like, all right, cool. You got
Or you go to show off that you got the new Louboutins or the new Yeezys or the whatever. I can't deal with that.
Unfortunately. But honestly, that actually made me, I'm not gonna lie, that made me take a step back from church a couple years ago. I felt like I was showing up to church and it became about everything else other than God. I actually felt like I couldn't have intimacy with God in front of so many people because I a little bit felt judged, and then I felt watched a little bit, and then I felt like if I was having a breakdown moment, they were looking and being like, "Ooh, he must be sinning. Ooh, he must be going through something," and then coming over and being like, "God forgive." It was so much going on, and again, it wasn't the people, but for me, I was almost like, "Ooh, this is becoming very religious."
Right.
Like, I gotta take a moment back.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it got to a point where I was just going to go to church with a shirt that said, "Do you need a ride to heaven?" Because,
Right.
but they already know I'm a heathen when I walk in the door, so it's whatever.
But
Okay,
that's a T-shirt, actually.
it is right. Okay,
You should sell those.
no, well, I did sell shirts that said, "I'm just doing the Lord's work." I'm just doing the Lord's work. Because when people would get mad at me, I'd be like, "Yeah, listen, I'm just doing the Lord's work." But really, I have, like, when people are surprised at how I listen to gospel music every day, almost all day, how I really love God and attribute all of my blessings and everything I've overcome, I give it to God. You know what I mean? So I just feel like people have this prescribed notion of what being a champion for God looks like, and I'm just glad that all of us are able to walk in our faiths and still be able to be cool and relatable and human.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what God thinks about us. All we have is a responsibility to Him
Talk
and our
about it.
relationship with Him and our growth with Him. Everything else, even though we can be affected by what other people think or say, at the end of the day, all that matters is what does He say about me? Who does He say I am? I'm constantly a work in progress, and that's not for anybody else to judge. That's between me and God. So at the end of the day, I just focus my eyes on Him, and we can all agree on that. And He'll do whatever work needs to be done if work needs to be done in certain areas, and nobody can even judge even that notion. So
Right. So I recently saw you were very vocal and open about uh, people were accusing you, Megan, of bleaching your skin, lightening your skin, and trying to become a white woman or whatever. I'm just exaggerating now.
yeah,
But I I was mad that you had to explain, but I was also happy that you did own it and say whatever you needed to say in terms of giving an answer to people's claims, because some people just don't ever respond and some people are afraid to respond. When that was happening, what made you respond to that?
I needed to start the healing process. And the experience was really, really traumatic. It's not something I solicited or did on my own. It was something that was done to me. And I was just totally caught off guard by the situation. And it was extremely traumatizing and extremely painful.
So for people that may not know what we're talking about, if
Yeah.
you can just
Sure.
sum it up. Yeah.
So short version is I went to someone about scar removal from a dog bite, and they suggested that I had some sun damage on my forehead and that I should fix it. I said no, it's natural contour, it's fine. That person gave me some products that were anti-aging. I used them; they were phenomenal. I was super excited about working with this person. And then when I went back again, they said, "Listen, I'd really love to fix the sun damage. You'll be very happy with it." So I was like, "You know what? I trust you now. I feel good about it. Okay, cool."
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, within a month, I'm getting super, super pale. And I'm like, what's going on? The person was like, oh, that's what happens. Basically, you have to lift everything first and it, makes everything even. And then your complexion comes right back. And I was like, okay, I really wish you had told me this because I have to be in front of the camera a lot. And I would have never put myself to be in this type of situation. But I'm already going through it. If it's about to change back, then I'm fine. Get to the next month, I'm pretty much, to me, white as a sheet.
Wow.
I'm freaking out. I get this show. I don't even want to be on camera. I'm uncomfortable. I end up going to this event. Pictures get taken of me. Meanwhile, it wasn't as light as it was. The pictures were actually blown out and made it look worse. But then I was getting dragged on the internet and people were saying that I was bleaching my skin. And the hardest part was if I want to defend myself, I'm used to just being like, no, 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 no. I couldn't defend myself because I still looked crazy. And I went to the lady and I was like, listen, fix this now. I don't care about process done, just fix it right now. She gives me a serum. She says, stay out in the sun for 15 minutes with this every other day. Of course, my butt went out there and laid out there for 30 minutes. I burnt my whole face up.
Oh, no.
The serum attached to my skin. When I tried to wash it off, it wouldn't come off. I ended up scrubbing it to get it off. I had open flesh all over my face. My face was completely discolored, and it was really, really traumatizing. And basically, I just had to slowly but surely just work with a dermatologist, Dr. Pearl Grimes, who's incredible. She works with Terrence Shea and a bunch of other people. She instantly started fixing my skin, and it took a few months. And so basically, she started correcting my skin, and it's been a process. And I've got about, I'd say almost 90% of my color back, and I'm still in the process of getting the full color back. But the reason that I addressed it is because I love my skin. I love myself. I love my brownness. And when I think of young girls seeing this and saying, oh, well, I can change myself, or, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, basically, I felt like I was in a position where I was setting a bad example, even if I didn't do it. And I felt that I had to say something because I didn't want young girls looking at that and thinking that. Also, just, it's become even more sensitive for me in the climate we're in right now. I love my blackness, period. And it's upsetting because I do feel like I've been assaulted, honestly.
Wow.
And the woman, she wasn't licensed, right?
No, she wasn't licensed.
What?
The thing is, if I'm being completely honest, when I first met her, of course I assumed that she was licensed. After I used her anti-aging products and after she had helped me with the scar removal, then as we were talking, I found out that she wasn't licensed, but I thought, well, it's okay because I've already used her products and they're really great. So
I think you found out the day I came.
I did.
And I asked her, and she kept saying, I said, well, she looks really light. She was like, well, that's the process that it goes through, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, it's been going on.
Yeah.
And then that's when I asked her, because I was asking her about some products that I was doing. And when she told me that, couldn't explain, started explaining some of the stuff, I said, oh, hell no. And then that's when she said, well, it's not licensed, or, I was like, oh.
But what I thought was remarkable was, one, I mean, to see you up close, well, to see you on TV and to see you up close, you're very beautiful. You have very flawless skin. You've never come off vain to me, and nor in the moment of explaining it was there vanity that I saw, because I was really like, you know how like when somebody's telling you something, but you it's uncomfortable, so you don't want to make them uncomfortable. It's like I was uncomfortable watching it because I do know that in this city, a lot of people do a lot of things for vanity, and you've never been that person that I've known. So I was just wondering, like, you know, I don't know. I was just wondering how you felt with that whole experience, because it was really crazy.
I feel stronger
Mm-hmm.
now.
Amen.
I've spent so much of my life, being in my 20s with the media takeout and Boss Up at that time. Now Boss Up is nice to me, but back then, seeing negativity about certain things and kind of being a punching bag. And then from that to like getting married and being a punching bag in that way in terms of criticism. And then from this, and it's like all it's really done, honestly, has made me stronger. And my prayer has been like, especially since I got married, I'm like, Lord, please help me to stop caring what people think. All that matters is what you say about me. I know me. You know my heart. You know what I would do, and you know what I would not do. So just let me focus my energy on that and stop being so concerned with people, because it hurts me.
She's very sensitive.
I'm very, very, very sensitive. And you would think after being, out in the world that way over 20 years, I would not to be affected.
She literally was
breaking
down full time about this skin stuff, and it wasn't about people. Yes, it's hurtful to hear people say something when you had no intentions of that, but also she really was struggling with feeling like somebody stole something from her. So it was very traumatizing, and she is very sensitive, I will say, but she has definitely gotten a lot stronger, because I remember back in the day she used to go through that shit, them comments like.
No, and I know, and Lamaya, I don't know who else be interviewing y'all, but I know you used to be like the writer, like you be ready to go, and you know what I mean, put your hair in a ponytail.
Yes, most definitely. I think people's perception of me is very like tough, and so people don't feel comfortable coming at me like that, so they'll they come at exactly.
And it's been that way since we were
kids.
Everyone
protector.
But Meagan, but Meagan, that didn't make you. I mean, like, even the way you handled it is with grace. Like, I mean, I love God and I have a relationship with God, but sometimes I gotta let a nigga know, like, I'm not that guy. You know?
We got to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got. But here's the thing: is like the only other thing I should have been besides an actress is a lawyer. So if someone wants to go head to head with me in comments, I know what I'm capable of doing, and that's not the best version of myself. So I choose to do everything in love and to do everything with grace and salt. Even if I'm like in the moment, like, bring it down, Meagan, it's okay. I have to choose who I want to be. I know who I'm capable of being.
Yeah.
So because I know it, that's enough for me. That's not what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is,
that's a very powerful thing.
In a different life, if they had caught me the way I'm capable of being, they would know exactly what time it is. It's just that's not who I want to be.
So Dijon, you're from LA. All of you are from LA, but you, I'm assuming you all love the Lakers. This year we lost Kobe Bryant, top of 2020. I said that this year has been proud. This year has been a horrible year.
Surreal.
You know, the silver lining in it all is that we're all still standing and we're all still here. We still have another day to try to make it better. But what was the impact of Kobe Bryant's passing on you, being that you're from the city?
It was crazy, man. So I started this year on December 31st. My best friend's dad died. So 2 years ago, my dad died. So that was just reliving the same exact traumatic experience going literally into the year. And we had such high hopes. Like 2020 is our year. We rallying, we doing all this kind of stuff. And then we were hit with back to back blow. So Kobe, I dealt with Kobe's death like he was my brother. Like I had like 4 days of literal trauma where I woke up. I also think the thought and idea of how he passed and the possibility of him holding his daughter and never making it back to his other girls, and being such a great dad that he prioritized his family's experience by having that helicopter so he wouldn't be in traffic, and he was a nice guy and let other people come on. So the idea of the man that he was and who he had grown to be was such a blessing to our community, a blessing to the culture. And oftentimes I feel like, unfortunately, those blessings are taken from us too soon. From Michael to Aaliyah. She picked me up from the fair when Aaliyah died, and she told me, and I was like 11. I started boohoo crying. And I didn't know
I remember Leah too.
I didn't know her. But those people in our community and our families, and that takes it back to our show, cousins and family in the Black community, it's a representation of community, because oftentimes we don't have actual siblings or family to turn to, so we look to our stars and our athletes and the people we can reach tangibly to connect with, to see ourselves as more than we currently are, because representation shows us how far we can go. And Kobe set a stage and a platform for my generation that Michael did for my brothers. Yeah. So losing him was one of the greatest, impacts. And then we get hit with COVID, and now Black Lives Matter. We're being treated as slaves again. So it's kind of like, God, when do we get a break?
Treated like slaves.
This year is
coming to right. And it's just being it's been going on. Obviously, we know that since the beginning of time. It's what America has been founded on. So this is not new. It's just come to a head, and
it's just now white people have to sit through the uncomfortable part that we lived through and watch us be killed and murdered and treated as animals. And before you turn your eye and be like, I'm from Virginia, that doesn't happen here. Now you're like, no, bro, in your city, your state, your brother, y'all,
yeah.
Well, let me go back. First of all, Dijon, you're going to be good on the new show Cousins, because you took my transition, and that was a good. Because my point was going to be, like, with the death of Kobe, then COVID-19, and then Black Lives Matter, and all Black lives have always mattered to us. They just haven't mattered to everybody else. And now that it's the daily, almost every minute conversation everywhere you turn, has that been something that you all as a family have had conversations about? Because I know for like Kobe's death, it really made mortality real, right? Like, we know mortality is real, but it was really like, he had such global impact. He had kids waiting at home. He was doing something productive for his community. Right. He is the beacon of what success should look like, and it happened to him. So how did you guys process that as a family?
I think we have lots of conversations about community and building the Black community. Me and Meagan have our foundation, and we mentor young women. And so our conversations have been mostly about the things that we put into the community and how we can help our community and help, who we're called to as individuals. I think this particular movement and the intensity of it force everybody to make sure that in all of our endeavors, in all of our trying to make community better, this is a fight that we all have to take on collectively. And that conversation starts to get bigger and bigger. And every day, obviously we did a special about what's going on, because this is the biggest civil rights movement happening
ever
in the world,
ever in history.
And if you are not present and sitting and addressing it, it's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah. And if you're not speaking up, you have chosen a side.
You have chosen a side.
And it surprises me how many people, when I post content, I look at what some of the people say. I mean, obviously 95% of it, 98% of it is like, yes, we got to blah, blah, blah. But then there's those few people who are like, well, they already represented. What more do you want? And like, well, I don't think that the police necessarily did anything wrong in the Brianna case. And, like people, like my husband, he talked to Ryan Seacrest, and he talked to him, about, just content that's on the page in terms of like Black Lives Matter. And then a friend of mine, and here's the thing, I'm speaking out of turn because I actually didn't watch all of it and see everything. But a friend of mine told me that there are people on Ryan Seacrest's page dragging him because he addressed it, talking about, oh, Ryan, not you too. You're on this too.
Not you too.
It blows my mind.
Wow.
Exposing a lot. And there are, and it's like, I've had conversations with various people and a lot of my friends that were white, and to hear like their perspective, it's interesting. It's interesting to see who's in tune and who's got their heartbeat, even if they don't fully understand. And then who is really just completely out of touch.
Ignorant.
And can't even begin to get it. Like I can look at something and say, I don't understand that, but I understand where you're coming from, even if I don't understand that feeling. There's people who don't even have the ability to do that as it pertains to this matter.
But that's interesting though, because I think the way Lamaya just framed it, it is a civil rights movement, and it is bigger than anything we've ever seen. I think we just had Maxine Waters on, and we were saying to her that we didn't have social media in Rodney King, we didn't have social media in the civil rights era, so now the whole world is able to see in real time that they literally squeezed the life out of a human being. And it's interesting when you say about people who can say, "Oh, I understand." I was on a call with one of my production partners yesterday, and I just caught myself venting about, where is the finish line? When people ask me or kids say, what does it take to be successful like you? I don't know, because I still don't see my own finish line. And then it started this eruption of consciousness, as Amanda Seale said here, that now in every conversation, I have to make sure that the person I'm talking to understands the lenses that I'm seeing our conversation through. And when she said to me, she was really emotional because I just kind of let it all out. She said, I understand where you're coming from. And I said, I'm sorry, you're white. You don't. And I'm not trying to be rude. It's just that you know where your finish line is. And if you can't get to your finish line, you have people waiting to take the baton and get there for you, because they can still get there. And I just I wonder how we're all processing it. So it's good to hear that there's so many conversations going on outside of the media, because I think people need to have them.
And more than just conversation, I think the action that people have been calling people to come to, and the attention that we've been giving to it, it's more than just talking about it. Okay, we've been talking about this shit for years. What the fuck are we going to do? Let's start sharing information, because we have all this social media, but we're not sharing the things that are important to move the things in the direction that we need them to go. Yeah. So I am enjoying this time of the share of information, and you can look it up, you can research it, you can do your own, but it's available to you. And people who are within the community that people look up to are starting to share it. And I think that's just the whole point, and to not die down, because this is not, like you said, it seems that there's no finish line.
It's no trend. It's not a trend.
You have to keep going. This is every day, every single person at this time should be actively pursuing something daily, even if just a tiny thing, because we have children, we have nephews, nieces, cousins that are going to be continuing this, and hopefully in an evolved way. Yes. Hopefully we have come so far for them that it has become a different kind of fight. But I'm at the point where we have to be relentless. Everybody has to understand it's everybody's problem. We all have to take an action. If we all take a small action, I keep saying this, if we all do a little something, then everybody won't have to do too much, because we're all working together.
Yes. That's right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very passionate about it.
Get that on next episode.
I know, I did say that. And, I think the cousins thing, we've been talking about this long before COVID, long before the awareness to this point, because we always have conversations about community. I think that's what Black people do. We get together and we always have conversations.
But we also have house niggas that are inside places of where they could have real influence. And I got on their asses yesterday, and I'm going to be putting out a culture report every week where I highlight where we, because I hope people understand my intentions are always the best, but my delivery is not always the best. If you are at the table, and every seat around you is filled with people that don't look like you, or the conversation about where to spend the money in the room is not about people that look like you, you're a part of the problem. Because it takes nothing for me to say, oh, I heard Beats is looking for something. Why don't y'all call Dijon? It don't take nothing from me. It don't take nothing for me to say, well, what about Meagan Good? Instead of saying, well, it doesn't benefit Hollywood Unlocked, so I don't care about Meagan Good,
True.
That's the part. The funny thing is, my best friend, she works at a white startup, like a really big white startup, and she's one of only 2 Black people there. And the Black guy called her crying about the company not actually making a statement about what's going on. They were making a statement about the protest, but not the reason why. So she actually texted the actual CEO and went off. So because of her speaking up, she's a very vocal person. they're now implementing a protocol on how they operate with people who do not support Black Lives Matter. Like they're no longer going to work with companies who have racist viewpoints or racist histories, but it required her being vulnerable and being like, you know what, I might be speaking out of turn, but
I might lose my job.
Yeah, as a Black woman in this company, you're using my knowledge to grow it, so I want to use your influence to grow my people as well. Right. I have a seat at this table, and then she was talking about how she would love to work at a Black company with a similar amount of honesty, money, and resources to do the same thing, but how the conversation then shifted to sometimes the people who are at the seat of the table don't want to go to a Black company because it's not as infrastructurally sound. So it's like now we also have to, Lamaya talks about this all the time, support Black businesses. Yeah.
Build up
businesses, make our own infrastructure, make our own way to, like you said that all the time.
And we need to, our own education, we need to be responsible of building our community because only we know how to do it the way that it should be done that benefits our kids. So we do need to be implementing, and when I say actively pursuing, so not just the justice for everybody who's lost their lives to this racism and this white supremacy, but also when I say work actively, you need to be, if you're an educator, you're a Black educator, get with like-minded educators. Let's create a school. Let's get some funding from some. Let's create charter school.
Even if it's after school there's no reason why our kids should not be knowing about Tulsa.
Our history. We need our own history.
All that stuff. It's like I can't believe, and this is true, I can't believe that I only realized 2 weeks ago that policing literally did originate from slavery.
I did not know that until like 3 days ago.
The slaves that ran away, yes.
No. I didn't know it till 3 days ago.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But that's because I'm not, the crazy thing is I remember, and this is a true story too, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but it's true. We grew up in Santa Clarita, he grew up in Palmdale. I remember being 19 and doing like a ringer alert things or whatever. And mine is before cell phones had, cameras and all that stuff. It was a long time ago. But point being is that someone wanted me to say something about Coretta Scott King. I literally said, "Who's Coretta Scott King?" Because the school that I went to had not spent any time at all teaching us about any Black history. The history that I knew is not the history that's the truth.
Exactly.
And I had to learn so many things. And even now at my age, I'm still learning stuff like what you just said 3 days ago. Same for you. And these are things that we should have been taught from day one.
And we got to make sure our kids know that too, because it gives you a sense of pride. I've always went to Islamic schools or African schools, so I was unaware that people didn't know certain things, but it does give you a sense of pride as a young man and a young Black woman. It helps you grow and understand yourself and stand firm in things that you believe in. So bigger than us even having our own economy, which is very important, and education, it gives us a sense of pride as a community that we also need to be better people and better humans to each other.
But this is where it goes back to what you were saying, Dijon, in terms of building infrastructure and creating, right? Like Tiffany Haddish and I were on the phone the other night. We were talking about just the world. She was like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Man, this is crazy," right? She said, "I went to City National and I moved all my money out and I put it in a Black-owned bank."
That's right.
And she said the people at City National were like, "Oh, hold on, where's all that money going?" And she had to say to them, "This is why I'm doing it. This is important for my community." And she was talking more about even when we talk about the finish line, right? Okay, if you don't have a seat at the table, literally figure out who can help you build your own table. And I just wish that what I hope out of all of this is that, this every day I wake up and I just pray. I look at the social media stats. I look at how many people are talking about it, look at the news, and I just pray that people don't think that because the funerals are over that the work is done, because there's so much work to be done.
And that's what I'm saying. Every single day. You are absolutely right. The work is not done.
All right, y'all, it's time for another Hollywood hookup, and I'm super excited because this episode is sponsored by Embrace Pangea. Now, Embrace Pangea is a holistic company offering premium herb-infused natural hygiene products and herbal detoxes. They have a wide variety of products to fit your daily health and hygiene needs, such as their 5-star rated Pangea wash, an all-natural pH-balanced foaming feminine wash with rose and honeysuckle extracts. and their Essential 18 Detox Tea that's packed with 18 powerful non-laxative herbs to remove stuck-on waste from your colon walls. Now, if you're looking for a way to promote healthy gums, better breath, and an overall healthy oral hygiene routine, then check out their Herbarinse Advanced Botanical Mouthwash. If at no other time, right now is the most important time to get healthy. Head over to embracepangea.com and use the discount code UNLOCK to receive 10% off your first Embrace Pangea order. Use the discount code UNLOCK to get 10% off your first order.
Embrace it.
And
And
that's your
Hollywood. Man, that's your Hollywood hookup, man.
You know, honestly, I pray for my two sons that when I leave this earth, I have been an essential, an imperative part of a world that works better in their favor, a world that is affords them the opportunities that how smart and brilliant and anointed they are.
Yeah.
That they don't have to, that they can focus on the things that whoever God created them to be, and not so hard on trying to dig it out the bucket.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So
When you look at the mothers, because I actually was thinking about you and I was started this conversation because I know you have kids. Candy from Real Housewives of Atlanta was recently online on an interview with Andy, and she broke down crying, telling him how she has to have the conversation with her son who dressed up like a cop for school. He asked her, "Are cops bad?" And she had to have the talk with him. Do you ever fear having to have those conversations with your kids, and are you having those conversations yet?
let me tell you something. My oldest son is 5 years old. I have already had to address racism with my son. Um, you know, I have had to have the conversation about police because, of course, in school, oh, the policeman help you, this and that, and I've had to share with him the reality
It's terrible.
of people, yeah, that you can't trust a uniform, and these are people, and even your doctor, you have to teach them the reality of this world. And it broke my heart. I'm gonna tell you something. I broke down the first time I had to tell him about racism, and to make sure that he stood up for himself as a young black man, and that I protected my son from this person, and I let them know. Sorry,
This person was an adult too. That's what's crazy.
but it hurt my feelings because I remember when I was a child and I was in class and I went to a white school, and all the kids would ask me about my hair. Why is my hair sticking out of my ponytail? So I took some scissors and I cut it off, every piece that was sticking out of my ponytail. So I just remember the impact that those people, and not being and having the lack of understanding, the impact that even they don't even realize they're being racist when they do it sometimes. So the impact that had on me growing up as a young woman, figuring out who I am, learning to love myself, when it happened to my son at 5 years old, and I'm thinking he's a black man though. He's a black man. So there's a whole nother dynamic to that I cannot fully relate to. And it just broke my heart. I was infuriated because on one hand, I'm in front of a bunch of people, and I had to be let it known, like I said, I'm going to protect my son without being all ignorant, but to bring to his awareness the racism that he is putting onto my child. He's an adult. I made that man get down on his knees and apologize to my son. I didn't fucking like it, and I made him do it again. And I made my son look that man in his face because he said he was scared. He was scared of him. You don't be fucking scared of him. You look that man in his face and tell him you didn't hear him, to say it again because he doesn't understand what you're saying. And it's just sad that at 5 years old,
It is.
I have to do that. And my son has to be exposed to that. I saw him shrink down. I don't even want to say like the whole incident that happened, but to see him shrink down and be embarrassed and
That was the
scared,
worst part.
that was like,
Because she said
as a
she could tell
mother,
it broke his spirit. Like,
exactly.
that's the part that's
And
the
I'm
worst.
like, you know what, little black boy, you are a king.
Amen.
And we're not going to walk away and not address this and I'm not going to leave this motherfucking school neither, because you're not going to scare me away.
But I think I think the invaluable lesson in that though is that besides knowing that you love him, he knows now to stand up for himself.
Absolutely.
You know, like not, a lot of kids are invisible. I said to the person yesterday, like, do you actually see me? You know, and I don't think they know. And if you're intentionally messing with a 5-year-old, you're just a sick fuck. Like I don't even know what to say about that. But sometimes you do it without even knowing, because you don't even show that you care to know. And I know, like through your show, the cousins and the conversation that you're gonna have, when you look at introspectively at like what's happening, are you going to be having these kind of conversations so people can, because what I love about all three of you is just the transparency. That's the first, I think, rule of success in doing this kind of thing. Because people that want to have a podcast or want to have a show but want to be glossy and all that, like that don't relate, and it can't relate in this world today. So is
Right.
this the kind of conversations you'll be having?
For
Absolutely. It's the same
Yeah.
ones. If you come to our house on Taco Tuesday, Jason, that's the same conversation you're going to
Listen,
get.
I'm trying to get my body like Dijon's. I'm passing on tacos for now.
I'll work over here, brother.
But
They can't see you, Dijon. They can only see here. We'll put a picture up for them to see who.
Don't stand up, Dijon. Don't stand up.
No.
He's like, I'm not.
Don't trip. We control the editing. We'll put a photo in there somewhere.
Oh, my cousin's in the worst.
Yeah, we always selling them. But look, no, all these conversations, absolutely. I think we're still
It's a family room. It's a family room chat. You're getting the versions of us after we have a couple of drinks, to be honest. Because the point of the show is to work through trauma and to grow as individuals through this platform as well. So we're just inviting people to come on the journey with us. We're not higher or more superior. We don't have it all figured out. But there are some topics that we want to grow through. Like we talk about it. We have an episode where Safari is one of our guests, and we talk about all our insecurities and how we grew up.
Safari.
Yeah, Safari and Erica.
Did he talk to you about his own? I know who he been here. Did he talk to you about his OnlyFans account?
We have,
We thought about talking about it, but we actually didn't.
because we were so far into this, honey. All the surgeries going on and the insecurities growing up. It's that good old conversation. Like if you talk to somebody, you really get to know them. It's those inside conversations, not just the sterile pieces.
Well, I didn't get my invite to be on the show yet, so I'll be looking.
You get your invite. I can't wait till quarantine is over so you can actually come
do it
over.
in person. Yeah,
I know. Just listen, they text me talking about Penthouse is open this weekend. I'm not going to no club. Are you crazy?
People have been out there.
We went to protest. What are we talking? We've been all up in the protest.
I don't care. I know
around thousands of people.
Yeah.
No. Jesus is protecting us, Megan. But like, I'll risk my life to go out there for the protest, but I'm not gonna risk my life to go sip on a bottle at the club. Like it's just.
Well, Jason, have you been to a bar or a restaurant yet?
No. Let me tell you something. Instacart, Postmates.
Megan's best friend. It is.
Yeah, people have been shaming me like life must go on. I go, yeah, life has gone on for 400,000 people who've died, and I'm staying right here in the house.
Right. How about this? My life will go on after you out there in them streets.
Yeah, but it's this was such a good conversation. I know how it is building a show. Megan, when you first came on, this was a podcast with shaky legs,
Look at you now, baby.
Look at us now. Now I'm telling people that everybody want to talk to, I'm not interested. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing the show's success and anything we could do to help and support you. And I love that you guys in LA, which sometimes feels like a lonely city, have found love and support from one another, because a lot of people don't have that.
Super appreciate that.
We appreciate
for real,
man. And tell your son, man, he's a king. And man, that really that bothered me that happened, but I'm glad that he had a strong Black woman to have his back.
I appreciate that, because I want to slap the hell out that and beat him all up in front of people, honestly. And that's the type of he lucky boy. He lucky God did his work.
Yeah.
That's broke for the lion.
Because honestly, I could have ran and karate chopped that man in his forehead. I just was so inferior. I had so many feelings going, but my baby's sitting there looking. I'm like, oh no, you tell that man. Have that man on his damn knee. Apologize.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I'm glad everything is well. What else do we want to promote on the way out? Dijon, I know that you're an actor, and I saw you on I have to be honest. How to Get Away with Murder. I watched that show literally 2 episodes, and I stopped watching it years ago because it was too complicated to follow. Like I felt stupid trying to follow what was happening. Why was it so complicated?
I think they were being artistic. I think people either loved the show or they fell off after a couple of years. But they were finding ways to make it different. Shonda Rhimes, she's a craftsman, and Peter Norwalk. But they found their audience. They went for a while. They wrapped it up tight.
But speaking of acting, we do have the acting experience. This is a company that talk about it. The acting experience. It's basically. It's intended to be a masterclass workshop on the weekends. Obviously, we had to adjust with the times. So we do have a monthly subscription to acting classes, which Dijon is the amazing host of. Teacher. I said the host. And we do panels and all kinds of stuff. So it's called the Acting Experience. Check it out if you're trying to be an actor. If you're already an actor, and you want to TAE, honey.
Well, see, like I want to be an actor, but I don't like rejection, so I don't want to audition, and I don't have the talent like Meagan or Dijon or any of you to get like direct booking. So
nobody likes to audition. Nobody likes the audition process.
It's 30 years later, and I still audition once in a while, and honestly, probably half the time.
Yeah,
So at the end of the day,
nobody likes to audition.
No one does.
It's uncomfortable, and it's always I still have nerves. It's awkward.
It's a skill set,
and you're literally going in there. You're like, pick me,
Yeah, and then if they tell you like, I don't know, and then I just be like, well, this shit was wacky anyway.
Most of the time they do tell you.
9 times out of 10, you don't get the job. So, but when you do, it's great. And at the end of the day, I think it's good for like life lessons. Like, don't take stuff. Do the best you can do, have a level of excellence. What's meant to be will be. God's in the plan. Man's rejection is God's protection. All that stuff.
Take our class. We'll
I was gonna say,
we gonna get you right. Family pass. Come on.
Oh no, because I really don't deal with judgment. Like I could deal with like online. I could deal with trolls because it's like I'll troll you back. But like I went on one audition, right? So I signed the ICM, and they're like, E is having auditions, and I'm like, well, I've never auditioned, but I'll go, right? So I go. I walk in. I see Nina Parker. She's like, hi, what are you doing here? I'm like, I have an audition. Clearly I'm gonna get it because this is what I do. I went in there and I thought I did a good job, but then they told my agent like they like me, but I wasn't good enough. And I said to my,
you weren't good enough.
That is what they said.
They went in another direction.
That's what they said.
He's saying what he heard.
Yeah.
No, but that's exactly what they said. AKA, we ain't interested. And you know what I said? I didn't want that fucking job anyway. Don't send me to no more auditions.
I love it, Jay. You gonna come my life coaching, honey. You gonna move
No, wait. So what's the name of the foundation that you two have? Really quick.
For the greater good. And we do definitely. Our social media sucks. But we've been doing the footwork, yes. And we do need to amp up our events. And I think this time that we're in reminds us what the hell we're here for, and to stick to our purpose-driven cause. And that's helping these young women. And I know we try to do that by setting a daily example in our lives. And we do mentor some young women that are very close to us, but also getting those events out there and actively pursuing it. This is a reminder. So it's for the greater good. And it's igniting passion and purpose in young women. That is our
Good. And then, Meagan, there's no way we can get Eve's Bayou with you as a witch doctor or something like that. I mean, I don't know if you could ever read. No, that was such a classic. I know you're probably tired of talking about that, but that movie is still one of my favorites.
No, I would love to play that part, because that part is actually fun and interesting. And as you know, Diane Carroll played that role. And I was thinking about that this morning, because I watched that Netflix documentary, They Gotta Have Us, which was absolutely phenomenal and just really insightful and really inspiring. But I was thinking about, when I did Deception, I was the second Black woman in 30 years that had been the lead of a TV show on NBC ever. And the first one was Diane Carroll. And so I was just thinking about this morning how I didn't even understand who she was at 14. All I knew is that the director, Casey Bennett, was so excited to have her. And I thought, well, she's got to be a big deal. She must have done like a lot of great stuff before this. And now being older, again, going back to just all of our Black history and just seeing the barriers that she broke down. And, this, I think it was called Julia, where, that wasn't written for a Black woman. And just, it's just interesting, but I think we've really got to get back to our Black history. And because here's the thing, we're learning all kinds of history, but we're not learning enough Black history.
Right.
Hello.
His story. We're learning his story.
Yeah.
Not ours.
Exactly. His story, not ours. And for correction about the Coretta Scott thing earlier, I didn't know that her middle name was Scott. Like they had just said like Coretta King, which is like you should know. It's Coretta Scott King. You know what I mean?
But we also have to leave enough room and enough space for us to not feel guilty that we're discovering what people didn't teach us, because remember, they kept slaves tamed or controlled because they didn't educate them.
Right. And I think we have to have compassion and some, not everybody knows everything, and it's okay. I'd rather you learn it today, 3 days ago, 2 weeks ago, than never to learn it at all and stop judging each other and being self-righteous, because just like you're in another arena, you don't know everything. Yep. So shut the hell up and be kind and patient and let
love.
All right. So are you making music with Eric over there or no?
Which kind?
Well, listen, we already know you. We already know you've been successful at one kind because you had.
I will say we released a song for our 5-year anniversary. I'm dipping and dabbling, but to be honest, my heart and my passion is elsewhere. I'm always gonna love music. Yes, every day, baby. I'm here. You just letting you know. So I think I'll probably put out some more music. But I really do it because I want to, because I feel like it, and that's pretty much all it is. So we did a little song together. We had fun, but I'm scared of him. He's too talented. He made me quit the business. I said, "Oh."
No, I'm really happy to see just Black love, just all of you, and thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll support it. And I'll be looking for my invite.
For sure. We would love to have you. This was so good. Yeah. For real, Jay, you're awesome. You have a gift, because even the way this interview is so refreshing and fun and real.
And also, you've always been consistent.
You have always. No matter what we got going on, if we in, out,
or no matter what we don't have going on.
Yeah, but that goes back to at least what I feel like, Black media has to start looking at itself, because in many ways, a lot of us have been a part of the problem. And so when people had interviewed me and said, well, why did you change your logo to the Black Fist? And why are you reporting on all of what's happening in the streets? I'm like, because 1, it's the shit that matters. 2, it's this right thing to do. 3, it's what we've been doing. And 4, like, what am I going to talk about? Who's dating who right now? We don't care right now, So yeah, we all have to. And there's conversations going on our end too. Like, hey, we gotta find a way to speak with one voice, at least on this topic,
Facts.
Good for you, Jason.
But yeah, you guys come back anytime and let me know.
For sure.
We love you.
And then Dijon, we're gonna put one of your thotty photos up in your Instagram.
Put a shirt this one up.
We will. All right, thank you. All right, bye.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
What up, YouTube? Thank you for watching this reckless show.
Yeah, and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.
And also don't forget to share and leave a comment, because we are reading.